Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
Hi, this is Suman Kharbanda from FedEx, and you're listening to the New Warehouse podcast. Here is today's safety tip. Always follow the SOPs, the standard operating procedures, and keep your eyes and ears open for moving vehicles and objects like forklifts, switchers, hostlers in the warehouse yard type environment.
With e-commerce off the charts, many small and growing warehouses are asking, how can I get ahead when my warehouse is barely keeping up? The answer is future-ready warehouse tech from Zebra Technologies. Warehouses can simplify and upgrade all processes, from automated inventory management to hands-free picking, with Zebra's tailored, scalable mobile solutions. They're simple and intuitive. There's never been a better time to upgrade for success with Zebra. How can your warehouse get ahead? The answer's in black and white. Get the answers at zebra.com/theanswer. That's zebra.com/theanswer. Fulfillment demand continues to skyrocket and outpace available labor. To keep up, warehouse operators are turning to flexible fulfillment solutions like 6 River Systems. Utilizing 6 River Systems' award-winning combination of collaborative robots, artificial intelligence, and operational expertise will make your associates and wall-to-wall fulfillment workflow more efficient. No new infrastructure, no change to warehouse layout, easy to deploy and scale, easy to train and retain associates, all at half the cost of traditional automation. Want to take your fulfillment operation to the next level? Go to www.6river.com to learn more. That's www.6river.com to learn more.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hey, it's Kevin Lawton with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. On today's episode, I will be joined by Suman Kharbanda. She is the Director of Advanced Technology and Innovation at FedEx, and she's going to talk to us about some technology and innovation that's going on at FedEx, specifically a autonomous line haul that's going to be happening and piloting very soon by FedEx, which is very, very exciting. I've been waiting for this technology to really go live, so we're going to hear all about it from Suman and what FedEx is doing, and also some of the things that they're working on currently, aside from the autonomous trucks, and also what they're looking forward to in the future from a technology and innovation perspective. So, Suman, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, Kevin. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Happy to have you on the show, and I'm excited to hear about this autonomous truck. Very, very exciting stuff, and definitely a step forward, I think, in the industry. But first, why don't you tell us a little bit about, give us a very brief overview of FedEx, because I'm sure everybody is pretty familiar with FedEx, but, talk to us a little bit about, FedEx and your role there, and also the amount of technology that FedEx is investing in, because I know they're doing a lot with robotics and things of that nature.
That's right. Kevin, I'm glad to be here. And just to give you a brief overview of FedEx, FedEx provides transportation, e-commerce, and business services in the U.S. and internationally. And as you might know, FedEx invented the express industry and is the industry's global leader, providing rapid and reliable time-definite delivery to more than 220 countries around the world. And we we connect markets that comprise more than 90% of the world GDP within 1 to 3 business days. And since the first night of operations in 1973, FedEx has grown tremendously. Now we have about $84 billion in revenue, and we move about 18 million shipments a day throughout the world. Wow. Within the FedEx umbrella, we have different business units: FedEx Express, FedEx Ground, FedEx Freight, and FedEx Services, for catering to different shipping needs for different business segments. In addition, we also have FedEx Logistics and FedEx Office to provide all the other business services. And I am proud and honored to mention that, as you already know, that FedEx has played a key role in distribution of COVID vaccines around the world and keeping the e-commerce moving during COVID lockdowns and slowdowns. So definitely very proud of FedEx in that arena. Specifically, my role, I am Director of Advanced Technology and Innovation at FedEx Corporate, which is the holding company of all the business units. And my team's role is to work collaboratively with all the business units in advancing robotic and advanced technology applications. So the way we look at advanced and emerging technologies is that, as you know, I mean, there are a lot of new technologies, and we are very careful in terms of how we pursue, who we pursue with, and what technologies we pursue with. So my team and I are responsible for strategy and focused application of robotic and advanced technologies, and also specifically autonomous technologies in different areas of operations, whether it's in our facilities or on the roads, or it's the first mile, last mile, line haul, in all areas of our operations.
Very interesting. And, it's incredible to hear 18 million shipments per day. That's pretty insane and staggering number. So, with that type of volume, and obviously, you mentioned how much you're connecting the world through shipments in just, 1 to 3 day shipment time windows. But, I'm curious too, from a FedEx standpoint, we're basically getting into peak season, if not already there already. So, this time around, and especially in the last year and a half with COVID, as you guys mentioned, distributing the vaccine and things of that nature, we've certainly seen a lot of spikes in e-commerce and things, which is a lot of small parcel, which is a lot of what you guys do. So I'm curious, going into this peak season and even now, how is FedEx prepare for peak season, and what type of maybe technology tools are you guys utilizing to help you get through peak season?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Kevin, that, we've kind of been in the peak mode since COVID started. So even in a normal year, pre-COVID, our peak operations can be anywhere between 50 to 70% higher than our normal rate. Wow. And with COVID, we have been in this type of peak phase since, for the last 18 months. So, and the growth of e-commerce and the domestic package market has really accelerated due to COVID. Pre-COVID, FedEx had projected that, our U.S. domestic package market would hit 100 million packages per day by calendar year 2026. Yeah. And now the market is expected to hit at least 3 to 4 years sooner than expected. Wow. And vast majority, more than 85% of this growth is expected to come from e-commerce. And on top of that, and I'm kind of getting as to how we are getting ready for peak and how things have changed, especially in the last 18 months. And that's why we've had to take a kind of fresh look at how we get ready for this coming peak. What has also happened is, especially in the last 18 months, is that every aspect of e-commerce is undergoing a radical change. Business customers, as well as the end users, are demanding greater control and flexibility in terms of engagement with the companies, as well as in terms of being able to get more notifications as well as visibility about their packages. So we have been very focused on really looking at how we could make our data work smarter. So that has been a very central piece to our FedEx digital journey and the Innovate Digital strategy. And this strategy was put in place even before COVID. Okay. So we have just accelerated on those strategies that we were planning and executing anyway. So in specifically to get ready for this peak, number one is that we are doing a lot of advanced planning, especially with some of our large customers. Okay. We start getting ready for peak and for the holidays a year before. Like as soon as the holiday season gets over, we start getting ready for the next holiday season.
Wow.
So
no break.
Long. Yes. Yes, it's a long process of planning with our customers. The second way that we are really getting ready for peak, especially with the kind of volumes we have seen and we are expecting, is really, like I mentioned, utilizing the power of data to provide visibility and to track packages more closely and communicate with our customers. Thirdly, and I think you mentioned about the technologies. So we are definitely looking towards technologies to bring efficiencies within our hubs and facilities. So we are looking at not only collecting the data for automating technologies, but also using that data to see how we can optimize and improve the flow of packages through our buildings. So the preparation for peak is from different fronts, from technology to planning with the customers to really looking at our operations and see how we can really move, the millions and millions of packages every day efficiently through our process.
Yeah, it's very interesting to get a look inside because, obviously, we have operations as customers who are the shippers, but, the volume that you're doing is exponentially so much more than the typical customer, right? Or the typical user or shipper that you guys are dealing with. So it's really incredible to see. And, it sounds like from what you're saying, the data is really the key to ensuring that you're having a successful peak or preparing in the way, which I think is something that I've been hearing over and over from guests throughout COVID is that, they're looking at the data more and trying to rely on that. And then just like you said, pulling in, plans that were 3 years out, now pulling it in to now. Most people are going through that, it seems, with these different peaks. So I'm curious, with the peak as well and in such a shift towards e-commerce, how do you guys prepare for the back end of peak, which is like the return season, right? So many returns start coming through and the reverse logistics side. Now, how do you sort of plan for that aspect and kind of bringing things back to the shipper?
Right. I mean, I think the planning is the key word here. Because like you mentioned, we have millions and millions of shipments every day. So it is really a seamless process. So if one thing happens at one point of time or at one point in the operation, it can really have the waterfall impact on the other parts of the operation as well. So planning is really key. So when we plan with our customers, the large customers, the retailers, we really plan every aspect of it. The shipping, the holiday shipping, the peak days, as well as the returns process. Yeah. And we've been doing a lot of work in terms of making the returns process seamless for end consumers as well. So we've been working very closely with our large customers to really provide information and data as well as operational efficiencies related to shipping for holiday packages as well as returns through our retail footprint, which is the FedEx office centers and other retail centers.
Interesting. Yeah. I was curious about that because, obviously, like I mentioned, with all the e-commerce volume, there's so much more returns volume too, which I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about that. So it's interesting how you're working that in and then also trying to make it easier for the end consumer, which I think is a great thing because I think in turn that makes it easier for the business that's taking back the returns as well. And I know from managing returns departments in my career that returns is not the best thing to manage. It's very difficult and it can be messy at times. So, streamlining that process and making it easier with a partner like FedEx and working with them, I think is a great thing, especially as we're looking at the astronomical amount of e-commerce volume that we're seeing now. So really interesting to get the insight on the peak season from you guys, especially with the volume that you guys do. But now I want to get into what I'm excited to talk to you about, which is the autonomous line haul trucking line that's going to go from Dallas to Houston. And you guys are going to be piloting this relatively soon. It's interesting because someone that I used to work with, we were just texting the other day and they're saying like, when do you think like autonomous trucks are really going to happen? And I'm like, well, stay tuned. I'm going to talk to someone on Monday about it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this autonomous line haul trucking that's going to go between Dallas and Houston, I believe is the route. I'm curious, how long has this been in the works and how did this really come to fruition now?
We'll be back after a quick break. You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Sure, absolutely, Kevin. So first, let me talk about the collaboration that we announced, and then I'll answer the second part of your question as to how did it come about. So last week, we announced a collaboration with Aurora Technologies and PACCAR to test Aurora's autonomous driving technology in PACCAR's autonomous vehicle platform, equipped trucks within FedEx line haul trucking operations. And as you mentioned, this is a collaborative pilot between the three parties. And to my knowledge, this is the first collaboration of its kind with a truck manufacturer, an autonomous technology developer, and a logistic provider. And that's very significant. And I'll come back to this point because we were very particular when we are thinking of autonomous technologies. We are very much, I would say, surgical in our approach. Very, very planned approach in terms of where we want to use autonomous technologies in our operations. So we look at targeted use cases as well as targeted vehicle types and targeted players to work with as to where we want to utilize the autonomous technologies. And one of the key things that my team has been working on studying autonomous technologies I've been in this space for almost 5 years now. And one of the things that we are very particular about is the safety of the autonomous technologies. And that's where we believe the participation of an OEM is absolutely critical in terms of working very closely with an AV technology provider to provide the redundancy-based vehicle systems for steering and other vehicle systems. So we firmly believe that OEM is a critical part of autonomous technologies along with the technology providers. And so we formed this three-way collaboration, like I mentioned, first of its kind. So we have all the ingredients or all the players needed to make it into a successful pilot and take the autonomous technologies further. The second part of your question is to how did it come about and how did this come to work with the three-way collaboration? So like I mentioned, we have been looking at autonomous technologies for almost 4 to 5 years. And we are always the forefront of vehicle technologies because safety and efficiency are very important to what we do and what we believe in. So we've been looking at autonomous technologies, and like I mentioned, we do a very targeted, planned approach in terms of looking at the very specific use cases. So earlier this year in June, we also announced a pilot with Nuro. That's another AV technology autonomous delivery company. So we are also piloting with Nuro. But that's a different use case. That's more for last mile logistics. Right. And then back in 2019, we had also announced FedEx Roxo, same day Roxo autonomous vehicle that we are building. And that's more for on-demand delivery. So the reason I give you these examples with FedEx Roxo and collaboration with Nuro and now collaboration with PACCAR and Aurora is we are looking at autonomous technologies across different stages of our operations. And we look at specific use cases, whether it is the last mile, on-demand delivery, or our line haul operations. And we go with the top players in the space, always keeping safety at the forefront of our mind. So we announced it recently, but we've been studying this space and have been working towards looking at the players as well as the use cases for quite some time.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I mean it's incredible that we are at this point, I guess, in the future is now like the present, I guess we could say. So I'm curious, the technology to get this autonomous truck on the road, I mean, what are some of the hurdles that you guys have gone through to be able to get this approved, I guess, from, you're talking about safety. Obviously, I'm sure there's some hurdles from a government perspective and making sure that things are happening correctly. And, from Dallas to Houston, it's a decent range to be taking something autonomously. So talk to us a little bit about that and how were you able to get the approvals to make this happen, and how does it feel to finally get to, I guess, the starting line in a sense with the truck?
Sure. So I think to be able to understand the approvals and the actual, before the actual pilot comes about or the collaboration is announced, there is a good bit of work or components that I think one needs to keep in mind. So one is the core AV technology, autonomous technology, with all its components in terms of the sensors and the high definition maps that an autonomous vehicle needs, as well as, teleoperation technology and so forth. But in addition to those core components, at FedEx, we are also building a proprietary ecosystem. So for us at FedEx, it is not just about having the vehicle with that technology, but it is the whole ecosystem in terms of converting this technology into solutions and efficiencies, if you would.
Okay.
So we've been working on developing this ecosystem, and that is really a system that's device agnostic, global ready, and has a number of different applications, including applications related to safety elements in order to always track these vehicles, be able to collect all the data, be able to always, monitor the safety systems in these vehicles and so forth. So I mentioned these components because I think that's a very important part of looking at autonomous technologies in addition to the core components of the technologies. And then we work very closely with the local governments. Let's say in case of Roxo, FedEx On Demand, Roxo vehicle, Roxo device, we are working with local governments to get approvals and make a case with the safety, and we do a lot of testing and show it to the regulatory authorities as to in what ways we are ready, in what ways we still need to work on. So in other words, it's not just one aspect of autonomous vehicles or one component of the technology, it is the entire system around it that really would bring about the benefits in terms of safety and efficiency. And that's the case we go forward with and continue to work on.
Very interesting. And, it's certainly a lot of work, I'm sure, that it has gone into getting to this point. And, rightfully so. Obviously, you mentioned the safety aspect multiple times. And, I think that's, some people are fearful of something like this, obviously, because of the safety aspect. But, I think I'm sure you guys are doing the due diligence and obviously working with the local governments. So, you're making sure the proper things are in place. And I think that's so necessary. And, I saw too, I think you guys will have a driver or somebody in the cab as well, just in case. But, when we look at this pilot launching soon, how did the decision, I guess, to go from Dallas to Houston come about? Why the decision for those 2 points?
Yeah, so in that decision also, a number of factors into consideration. First is we wanted to pilot in an area where it makes sense for our operations.
Okay.
Where we have significant runs throughout the week to be able to test that route. Second is also what is called the ODD for autonomous technologies, which is the operational design domain in terms of what kind of area or what kind of operational area is the technology ready to be deployed in. So we took that into consideration as well. So the decision to narrow down on one route was very well thought. Okay. And at the same time, we wanted to start with a route which is meaningful from testing point of purpose, where we can have our operations learning as well as there can be learnings for autonomous technology advancements as well.
Interesting. Yeah. I was curious about the choice. So, I mean, it's great that it's something that's, operationally makes sense for you as well. I mean, we're kind of, I guess, forced into one area because, one state says, oh, okay, and one state says, nah, maybe not. So it's really good to hear. And I think too, I'm curious, as you roll out the pilot, I mean, how many trucks are you actually piloting? Is it just one truck, or is this going to be something that's running every day? Is it like a full on pilot as like a normal operation?
So right now we have one truck on that route every week, and then we would be expanding it over time as the technology progresses, as our comfort level increases. And so we'll build upon that from that run that we've just started.
Okay, interesting. And so, as you see success with this pilot and doing more runs and expanding upon it, I mean, what realistically, how far away do you think we are from having these trucks, all across the country, really kind of, I guess, tackling the driver shortage that we always seem to be talking about? I mean, what's the realistic vision of, the time frame to see these things, driving past us on the highway?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kevin, and $1 million question. I do believe that, AV is at an inflection point of hype to gradual reality now. Mm-hmm. But there is still a lot of work to be done. There is still a lot of work to be done. And the reason I say that it is coming from, like, it's at an inflection point, is that if you really look at some of the developments in the AV space and the technologies needed to make advances in the autonomous technologies, we've had significant developments in those space. The rapid advancement of sensors, computation power, and AI ML type capabilities that enable more sophisticated and are helping advance autonomous technologies. And then there is also the regulatory and the public acceptance part of it, in addition to the technology element, where there are a lot of advances occurring. Because with COVID has brought the term contactless on a macro term here. Yeah. From government to consumers, and we see a greater level of acceptance for autonomous deliveries, and at times it's even the preferred method in today's environment of COVID. So I think both on the technology side as well as the regulatory and public acceptance side, there has been a lot of advances, and more advances in the, I would say, last 3 to 5 years than the 10 years before that. But still, we do believe that it is going to be very targeted and contained autonomous technologies application, especially in the short run, and then it will expand over time, and it's going to take a few years.
Okay, interesting. So I mean, it's definitely pretty amazing to see. I mean, I say, when I was a little kid, like, I guess I didn't think that there would be cars and trucks driving themselves in my lifetime. Maybe, it seemed like very futuristic, and now we're here. So it's pretty incredible. And I think it's amazing to be working in this space as well, in logistics and warehousing fulfillment, that's really embracing these autonomous technologies and robotics and things of that nature, and seeing these really useful cases to be able to utilize the technology that's going out there, and seeing how can we accelerate it from an enterprise perspective. It's pretty incredible. So I wanted to ask you too about the actual route itself, because obviously there's a lot of discussion around autonomous vehicles, and especially autonomous trucks, is that, would there be like a dedicated lane on the highway or something for these autonomous trucks to travel in? And obviously I don't think that, the state of Texas has built a dedicated road for you guys to test this one truck on, right? So, do you think that's actually something that's necessary, or is the technology getting to the point, and, to the safety point, I guess, foremost, that no, it really doesn't need a dedicated lane, and it can just be on whatever pre-existing infrastructure we have?
So for the Dallas-Houston pilot, the trucks are going to be driving in normal traffic conditions, with the human safety driver in the truck at all times. So I think the key would be to really see how these autonomous technologies advance to a level where they drive with other vehicles in the normal traffic conditions.
Right.
Dedicating lanes in certain is a possibility, but the feasibility is really important to look at. Is it really feasible to dedicate a lane? What would it mean for the traffic conditions and the whole road infrastructure overall? So there are a number of considerations to be thought about it when one starts talking about a dedicated lane. But our approach, or at least in this pilot, we are piloting with the normal traffic conditions with the safety driver at all times.
Very interesting. Yeah. And I think it's incredible to be able to say that, the technology, that we can entrust in the technology so much to put it in normal traffic conditions. But I'm curious, follow-up question here on the traffic. So the more we move to autonomous vehicles, do you think there will be less traffic issues?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I know there's a lot of work going on just to analyze that part of the traffic studies here. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. You would think that when autonomous vehicles are a little bit more widespread application, there will be more flexibility. And it will have interesting implications for ownership of cars by consumers as well. So one would think that it would help with the traffic congestion problem to some extent, as the autonomous vehicles can be very much optimized at different times of the day to meet different demands. Whether it is consumers at one point of the day and the business demand on the other parts of the day. So you would think that there is better time management or better vehicle utilization with the autonomous vehicles, and hence a positive impact on traffic.
Interesting. Definitely something to look forward to. Less traffic. So really interesting to hear about this amazing technology with the autonomous truck, and that you guys are actually piloting, and this is really, really happening. It'd be really cool to see, how it expands and how quickly it potentially expands as well, and how the technology advances. So I wanted to ask you, I guess, before we wrap up here as well, overall from the FedEx perspective, investing in technology has been a big thing, obviously, as you talked about, especially in the last 4 to 5 years, investing in these autonomous technologies as well. But, what really is of interest to FedEx, and I guess what is FedEx thinking the big technology to invest in over like the next 3 to 5 years is?
Sure. Yeah. So, Kevin, innovation is in our DNA. We are always thinking of different ways, finding new ways to use technology to enhance safety, improve our operations, improve the effectiveness of our team members, as well as help our customers succeed. So technology is always at the heart of all the efficiency and the flexibility in our operations that we focus on. So we are using technologies including AI, automation, robotics, route optimization, and the real-time data analytics for improving the internal efficiencies, as well as providing visibility and better customer experience. Couple of things I can share specifically that we are working, and how we are strengthening our network with new automated technology solutions. One is, very recently we installed robotic arms in our small package sort system at FedEx Express. So which will really is actually in operation, and it would be really helpful during this peak. And there are more additional installations being considered for several locations. In addition, we also recently announced our collaboration with Berkshire Grey to test AI and robotic solutions for the small package volume for FedEx Ground. Okay. So we are looking at not only AI and data-driven solutions and technologies, advancement in those technologies to provide solutions for our customers. We are also looking at various automation technologies within our facilities to improve the efficiencies and to really seamlessly move the packages through the automated means, so that there can be efficiency and productivity for our team members, as well as better service for our customers. And in addition, of course, like I mentioned, we're looking at autonomous technologies as well. So those would be the focus areas in terms of the technologies in the coming years.
Very interesting, and it's interesting to hear about the sortation process as well, and how you guys are automating that. So I'm curious, some takeaways here, for those that are listening that are on the shipper perspective, and maybe not as big a company as FedEx, and they're looking to sort of invest in some automation or technology to help them get through to the volume and things and things that are upticking in the next couple of years. Through what you guys have been testing and piloting and trying and having success with, what would you recommend to a company to really start to look at if they're looking to start like their automation journey? Like where should they really begin?
Yeah, so I think it is not just about the physical manipulation and movement, right? So it is not just about automating physical tasks or tasks that that help us move packages. So for any company that is a process driven and is trying to look at automation, the first step is to definitely look at the physical manipulation and movement of the tasks that you're trying to automate. But even more than that, I think the important thing is how it will tie into all the other processes that you have, how it would tie into, let's say, the other Internet of Things for monitoring, for optimization, to know where your assets are, where your people are, so that you can really have right processes, right people at the right place at the right time. So it's really an overall, when you think of automation, it is not just about automating that one specific task in the process. It's really taking a holistic look. And that's how we look at automation as well, is we are looking at automation technologies to look at how we can improve the flow throughout our buildings. So that's one key aspect, I think, to keep in mind thinking about automation in any aspect or any type of business.
Very interesting, and definitely a helpful tip, because I think that's good to have people be able to focus on the bigger picture, as you're mentioning, because I think oftentimes, like you kind of mentioned, like you don't want to just go in and just think about I just think I want to just automate this one thing, because there's all these different parts of the flow and the process and the way the material is going to go through. So really interesting insights, and I really appreciate that advice for the listeners there, and for myself as well too. I appreciate it. So I want to thank you so much for coming on this show and talking to me today.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.